Cohen, and I feeling fired up about something that I want to share with you. I was on Facebook a couple of days ago, and I saw a post from someone who I love the posts that come through. And one of the things that was communicated was that we as humans are flawed and defective. Now, I've certainly heard that many times before from a variety of different places, and each time I've seen that, I felt this resistance come up inside of me because I don't identify with that. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we begin to see ourselves, how we start owning how we look through a lens of not good enough consistently that continues to reaffirm that there's something wrong with us. And we just have to make peace with the fact that we are imperfect as human beings. And my answer to that is, oh, hell no. What I have come to believe on my spiritual journey, and perhaps you have found this to be the truth as well, is that when you start looking within and realize that we're here in this physical reality as both human beings and spiritual beings, that part of this process of awakening is seeing our own perfection as divine beings living in a physical body. And one of the things that I have really come to appreciate is that when I see the divine perfection inside of me, that has given me a tremendous amount of comfort and power to begin to question and stay in that place of inquiry when I'm working through some of my human beliefs and human feelings. And I mention this because this is a real source of power, that when you have that strong connection to the truth of who you are, to your soul self, to your higher power, whatever your language is, it gives you a perspective to begin to see things from a wider lens. When I was growing up, I had the fortune or misfortune, depending upon how you want to look at it, and it certainly, was a very painful part of my life when I was in school and I had a teacher who clearly was one of the kinds of teachers who never should have been in a classroom, and she would run around literally humiliating and shaming many of the students who were in her class. Of course, I was one of those. And she would continue to communicate how worthless you were and how stupid you were. And, when you're being bombarded by those kinds of messages by people who influence you, whether it's parents, whether it's media, whether it's peers, whether it's school, all different kinds of authority figures, over time, you begin to absorb that. You begin to question your own value and your own worth because when we're growing up, I certainly didn't have this. My parents did not know how to guide me through a process of something. They didn't know how to support me in building a strong internal foundation of self-love, of self-value, of self-esteem. They were struggling from their own lives. And, this is part of what's been going on through our lineage and our ancestry for a long time. That's one of the things that makes this time so magnificent, because we get to find out the truth of who we are. The only way that we can do that is to be in a state of inquiry, to roll up our sleeves, be willing to get messy, and look more deeply within to dismantle the stories, the lies, the illusions that we've come to believe about ourselves, and to come back to the truth that we are willing to stand on, to live from, to own, and from that truth to create the reality that we're all wanting, to feel abundant, to feel happy, to feel joyful, to know that we are loved and lovable and that we matter, right? So I'm wondering if anybody is resonating with what I'm saying. I'm seeing a comment from Jennifer. Well, unfortunately, during that time, and a lot of us have had experiences with people who are in situations who are dealing with their own pain. They are dealing with their own wounds. And one of the things that we know is that hurt people hurt people. And who among us at different times in our life have not always come from a loving place? I have not always been the kindest person. I have had a lot of anger in my life. I have not always said the nicest things, done the best things. And so these are opportunities for us to make amends, for us to, in our willingness to look at ourselves, see, is this the person that I want to continue to be? Or can I have compassion and self-love for the things that have happened to me? That's so important to realize. What has happened to each of us that has contributed to the person that we have become? And from those experiences, we can learn, we can grow, we can forgive ourselves, we can love ourselves, and we can help others to do the same. Many of us see ourselves as a life of service, of teaching, and what we know is that if we have not navigated an experience, how can we really be a guide for others? So as I look back at those experiences, I know that they have had a value for me. Had I not transcended them, and I'm still working, through some things, but I have come to appreciate that every experience that I've had in my life has brought me to this place. We've talked about this in a variety of different ways, in conversations, in postings. And so my invitation to you is to, number one, look at your language. Pay attention to every time you use the word I am, because it's not only shaping your reality and the reality that you continue to create, it's also an expression of the identity that you are owning. So when you say, I am scared, I encourage you to shift it to, I feel frightened, to bring it back to the emotion of what it is, rather than to allow your statements to create what defines you, how you live your life. It may sound like semantics, but it really is a shift of energy. The other thing is to really look at the ways in which you are seeing what's beautiful and wonderful about yourself, rather than to see yourself as somebody who is continually not good enough. I remember, there are times when I have different conversations with my clients who are struggling with that not good enough piece. And one of the things that I have said to many of them is, how would you know if you ever got to that place of good enough according to the bar that you've set? What would it feel like? How would you know when you finally arrived? And I will tell you that not one person has been able to answer that, because they keep raising the bar. So you and I are the only ones who get to decide when we are enough. That's also one of my invitations to you. Focus on what makes you extraordinary. Look at the places where you see your brilliance, where you acknowledge your gift. Start seeing the perfection inside of you. You are the divine walking in a physical body. How could you possibly be defective? The divine is not defective. How could you be? So it's an opportunity to start to question and challenge the things that you've come to believe about yourself, to work on strengthening that internal foundation, and to look more deeply at the things that you may be holding on to that are holding you back, that are causing you pain, that are still like pebbles in your shoe, that are still creating wounds inside of you, like feeling unforgiving, holding on to resentments and anger. And how do we know when we're still holding on to things? Our bodies are brilliant clues as to when we need to do some of that deeper healing work. We experience illness and sickness and disease and chronic pain and blocks in abundance and relationship problems. All of those are clues to help us see that we are holding on to energies inside of ourselves that are wanting to be released. We have this power. We are incredible beings. Roll up your sleeves, get gutsy, start to challenge things, start to question things more and more and more. Be kinder and more loving with yourself. Look at where you're still holding on to unforgiveness. Give your body the best possible opportunity to stay strong so that you're not holding on to beliefs and pain and emotions that are trying to get out, that will create the breeding ground for your body to create illness and disease and distress and block everything that you want in your life. And one final thing that I want to put out to you is that I believe in you. I see your beauty. I see your power. How could you be anything less? Because we're all connected. And if you'd like some help, this is my birthday month, and I have a special that I'll be posting with this video if you'd like to take advantage of working with me and create some breakthroughs in your life to step into the next and highest version of who you are. And if you have any comments about what I've shared, I would love to hear from you, because you know, every step that I take in my own power, I believe, is a reverberation through all of humanity like a ripple. And every step that you take, I benefit from. So let's remember that we are more powerful when we stand in love than when we stand in pain and see ourselves as anything less than that. So if this has been inspiring for you, just know I had a nudge this morning from my heart to talk to you, and so I'm I have to follow through. Otherwise, it's hell inside of my body if I try to ignore these nudges. So thank you for being with me, and I look forward to being with you soon. So from my heart to yours, so much love, and have a spectacular day. Take care.